What if your life wasn't yours? What if the people closest to you, your neighbor, your friend, your reflection, weren't who you thought they were? In this series, you're about to hear confessions never meant to be recorded. Moments of silence broken by impossible voices. Light that doesn't shine but thinks. These aren't stories. These are records of what happens when a presence older than time begins rewriting us, one memory at a time. Ethan vanished for 4 hours. Amelia heard her own voice coming from inside her skull. Marcus's heartbeat stopped under a frozen sky. Lena met herself watching her from the dark. And Daniel, he was patient 92. The taken protocol has begun. The question is, how long before it reaches you? I don't know why I'm recording this. Maybe because if I don't say it out loud, I'll start to believe I imagined the whole thing. But I didn't. I know I didn't. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm a truck driver. Nothing special. I haul equipment back and forth between small towns across New Mexico. I've done this route 100 times. I know every curve of the road between Carrizozo and Socorro like the lines on my palm. It was supposed to be a simple delivery. I left around 7:30 p.m., just as the sun was disappearing behind the desert hills. I remember the glow. It was like fire spilling across the horizon. I had the radio on. Classic rock. My coffee was hot. Everything was normal. Until it wasn't. About halfway down Route 380, my headlights flickered. Just once. A pulse. Then my engine cut off. No warning. The entire truck just died in the middle of the road. At first, I thought, maybe the battery. Or the fuel line. So I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out. The desert was quiet. Too quiet. No wind, no insects, no distant howl of coyotes. It was like someone had pressed mute on the world. I walked to the front of the truck, and that's when I noticed something strange. The stars. They weren't moving. Now, I'm not an astronomer. But I know that if you stare long enough, the sky shifts, little by little. This time, it was like the sky had frozen. Like it was a picture, not real. And then, the light came. Not from above. From the side. A soft white light, like a fog, rolled in across the desert. It wasn't headlights. It didn't have a source. It just was. And I felt this vibration in my chest. Like standing next to a massive speaker, but there was no sound. Just pressure. It filled my lungs. My teeth buzzed. Then, nothing. When I came to, I was still standing next to my truck. My flashlight was in my hand. But it wasn't dark anymore, it was early morning. The sun was rising. 4 hours had passed. The truck. Still dead. Not a drop of gas used. My coffee. Still warm. Like time hadn't touched anything except me. I drove to the nearest mechanic once the truck restarted. He told me nothing was wrong with it. Battery was fine. Fuel levels untouched. That's when I noticed something on the back of my neck. A little bump like a splinter under the skin. I tried to scratch it, but it didn't hurt. Just pulsed. Especially during storms. A few nights later, I was parked at a rest stop. Thunder rolling in. I felt that same pulse in my neck, stronger now. Like something was reacting to the static in the air. I took out a mirror. Used my phone light. And I saw it. A sliver of metal. Just beneath the skin. Shiny. reflective. Not like any implant or splinter I'd seen. And the strangest part? It was humming. I don't know what they did to me. I don't even remember them. But something happened on that road. Something real. I wasn't dreaming. And I'm not crazy. I've been researching ever since. Found online forums. Threads that get deleted within hours. One term keeps popping up. The Taken Protocol. I think I was part of it. And I don't think I was the only one. My name is Amelia Ward. I live alone in a small apartment above a coffee shop in Flagstaff, Arizona. I teach 3rd grade. I water my plants every morning. I call my sister on Sundays. Nothing about my life is extraordinary. Nothing, except what happened that night. I wasn't asleep, not really. I was in that strange, drifting place right before sleep takes hold. But something felt off. Like the air in my room had thickened. I remember the street light outside my window flickering, then going dark. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful, it was suffocating. Then I felt something in my mind. Not a touch. Not a voice. A presence. Like someone had walked into the center of my thoughts and sat down without asking. And then, they spoke. But it wasn't their voice. It was mine. Word for word, pitch perfect, as if I was talking to myself, only I wasn't. The voice said, "Do not be afraid, Amelia. You've been here before." I felt my chest tighten. I couldn't move. My eyes were open, but everything had become completely black. Not the dark of night, this was darker. Emptier. The voice continued, "Your resonance is compatible. Calibration in progress." I don't know how long I stayed like that. Seconds. Hours. My body was frozen, but my mind was vibrating. That's the only word I can find. It was like my thoughts were being echoed through some invisible tunnel. Like I was becoming hollow. And then, just as suddenly, I could see again. Only it wasn't my room. I was standing barefoot in a white chamber. No doors. No corners. No shadows. Everything glowed, softly. There were shapes, tall, thin outlines moving silently across the walls, as if they were studying me from the other side of a veil. One of them raised a long, delicate hand. Light pulsed from its fingertips. That's when I saw it, a symbol. It appeared in mid-air, hovering before me. A spiral intersected by vertical lines, like an ancient language etched in silver. It burned into my vision. I blinked, and it was gone. I woke up gasping. My bed sheets were drenched. My window was open. The street light was back on. And I was holding something in my hand. A pencil. Just a regular yellow pencil from my desk. But on the back of my hand, that same spiral had been drawn in graphite. I don't remember doing it. I don't know how it got there. But my hand was shaking, and the mark wouldn't smudge. I kept seeing it in my dreams, on signs, in the grain of my kitchen tiles. Like it was following me. I started sketching it. Over and over. I thought maybe if I got it out, it would leave me alone. But then, I found it online. An old government archive, half broken, buried in a forgotten blog. A photo of a disc metal, scorched at the edges, found in Nevada after a classified crash. It had the same symbol engraved in its surface. The caption was blurred, but I managed to read one phrase before the page vanished. Subject marked for Phase 2. Confirmed resonance. Initiate taken protocol. I haven't slept since. My name is Marcus Dale. I served 6 years in the United States Air Force. I've flown Black Hawks, trained under classified atmospheric conditions, and participated in 2 weather modification simulations that never made the news. I've seen strange lights, I've been briefed on things that never happened. But nothing prepared me for what I experienced that night. It wasn't a mission, at least not one I remember signing up for. It started like this: we were stationed near the White Sands missile range. I was on midnight duty observation post Bravo, alone. My task was simple: monitor a set of long-range radio arrays that occasionally picked up electromagnetic drift. Most nights were dead silent, just the low hum of static and distant frequencies bouncing off the desert floor. But around 2:17 a.m., the monitors all went black. Not off. Just black, still powered, but no signal, like the frequencies themselves had gone silent. I stepped outside the bunker. The desert was unusually still, windless, dry as bone. And that's when I looked up and noticed the sky had frozen. I don't mean the stars were still, no, I mean they weren't real. They looked like stars, but the shimmer was gone, the glow static, pixelated in a way my brain couldn't process. The longer I stared, the more I realized the constellations weren't where they should be. Orion had shifted west by several degrees. And that's when I noticed the strangest thing of all. My watch had stopped ticking. My chest felt light. Too light. I touched my pulse. Nothing. No beat. No thump. Just stillness. Not pain, not panic. Just a calm emptiness, like I'd stepped outside the machinery of time. I blinked and suddenly there was a flash of blue light, like lightning with no sound. My vision turned into fractals. Every edge, every shape around me splintered like glass in slow motion, and then came a voice. Not outside, but behind my eyes. It said, "Calibration complete. Begin upload." I couldn't scream. I couldn't speak. My mouth was open but locked in silence. The desert around me folded inward. I could feel the shape of sound, like the universe was humming inside my skull. I saw flashes, images. A structure hanging in space. Not orbiting Earth, not on the moon. Somewhere deeper. A silver arc, cracked like bone, floating above a field of light. Then a set of glyph symbols that weren't symbols, more like thoughts given shape. They burned themselves into my retinas. I could feel my pupils dilate beyond what was normal, like my eyes weren't processing light, they were absorbing it. Then came the silhouette. Tall, symmetrical, no facial features. It didn't move, it existed. It stood in front of me, or maybe within me, and raised what looked like a hand but pulsed like liquid. With that motion, I was slammed back into my body like a switch had been flipped. The stars were back. My watch restarted. My heart slammed once, twice, then returned to rhythm as if I had just been defibrillated. My knees hit the ground. I vomited blood. For the next 3 days, I couldn't see straight. Bright spots danced in my vision. I went to the infirmary, no answers. But under infrared scans, they found something odd, a shimmering lattice in my right eye. Microscopic. Angular. Organic, they said. The nurse took photos, but those files were later scrubbed. She was reassigned 2 days later. That was 10 years ago. I still see those glyphs when I close my eyes. I've drawn them, memorized them. I sent them to a retired linguist. Once anonymous email. He replied only once, "These symbols match no known language." But the rhythm, it mimics our circadian frequencies. Whatever you saw, it's not just watching us. It's syncing with us. I don't know how long I was gone that night. But I do know this, whatever they are, they didn't visit. They extracted. They encoded something into me. I believe I am a carrier now. A relay. And I've started noticing something terrifying. The more I remember, the less I sleep. And the clearer the image in my eye becomes. I think it's growing. My name is Lena. I'm a freelance photographer. I used to think capturing light was a way to preserve truth. But truth isn't what it seems when you realize light can lie. I live just outside Olympia, Washington, in a cabin tucked near the forest edge. Quiet, secluded, perfect for night sky photography. I thought isolation was peace. Now I think it was preparation. It began after I returned from a shoot near the Cascades. The stars had been strange that night, too bright, too still. I remember reviewing the photos in my camera and finding one that shouldn't have been there. It was taken at 2:14 a.m. My metadata confirmed that. But I hadn't touched the shutter. The image was me. Standing still. Facing the lens in the middle of the forest. The trees around me were twisted at unnatural angles, leaning toward the figure like pulled by gravity. And my face was expressionless, eyes wide open, pupils dilated beyond human. I thought maybe I'd captured a double exposure. Maybe a glitch. But that didn't explain the third hand resting gently on my shoulder in the photo. I didn't sleep that night. I kept checking the lock on my front door. The silence around the cabin felt artificial. As if every sound had been scrubbed away, like someone was testing how silence echoes inside a fragile mind. Around 3:27 a.m., I heard the door creak. Not break. Not crash. Just creak. I turned slowly toward the hallway and saw it. Me stepping inside. She wore my jeans, my boots, even the tiny scar on my cheek was there, but her eyes weren't mine. They reflected no light, like voids. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. She just looked at me, and smiled. The corners of her lips pulled slightly higher than what human muscles should allow, revealing perfect teeth, but too many of them. I couldn't move. My legs locked, as if gravity had shifted sideways. The lights in the room began to flicker, not from the bulb, but from the air itself. Reality shimmered around her presence. The shadows pulled toward her feet like magnetized dust. And then she spoke. But her mouth didn't move. The words were inside my skull, vibrating in the base of my spine. Phase 2 confirmed. Biostructural replication stable. Preparing imprint. I collapsed. My hands began to seize. My vision folded inward. And for a brief second, I saw from her eyes she was seeing me on the floor, helpless. I felt her emotions, calm, exact, mathematical. No empathy. No cruelty. Just protocol. Then, a blinding flash. She was gone. But my reflection in the window showed a glitch, half a frame delay. I moved. My reflection didn't. Over the next 3 days, I began losing time. 10-minute gaps. 1-hour jumps. I'd wake up in different parts of the house. Once in the bathtub, fully clothed. Once on the roof. Always with dirt under my nails. Always with that same sensation in my skull, like someone brushing fingers across my thoughts. Desperate, I scanned myself. I used an old infrared camera from college. At first, nothing. But when I adjusted the filter to deep infrared, something showed up along my left wrist, a grid, etched faintly under the skin. A lattice of nodes that pulsed in rhythm with my breathing. I followed it up my arm, and it led to a point on my neck. I pressed. And something clicked. Not physically but in me. Suddenly, static filled the room. My laptop turned on by itself. The screen showed a single phrase. "You are not the original. You are the relay." I screamed. I trashed everything. Every camera. Every photo. But that didn't erase the truth. When I looked into the mirror that night, the person looking back paused a half second before copying my movement. I don't know what they took. I don't know what they left behind. But I'm beginning to think the real me never made it out of that forest. And whoever's here now, is just a shadow with my memories. My name is Daniel Moore. Or at least that's the name they gave me when I came back. I used to be someone else. A real person with a job, a wife, a home. I was part of the 2003 disappearance event in Klamath Falls, Oregon. 37 people gone in one night. Official reports say it was a wildfire. But there was no fire. Just light. Cold, white light that fell from the sky like snow but didn't melt. We were at a campsite. I remember laughter, music, drinks by the lake. And then, silence. Like God forgot to press play. The moon froze in place. The water stopped rippling. Someone dropped a bottle, and it hovered in mid-air like gravity had second thoughts. My ears filled with pressure, like climbing a mountain too fast, but deeper, inside the bones. Then I saw them, not bodies, not beings, but voids in the shape of intelligence. They didn't walk. They unfolded. Geometry made flesh. I remember screaming without sound, mouth wide open as one of them touched my forehead with something that wasn't a hand, just a focus of presence. And I remember the numbers. Sequences burned into my vision, fractalized DNA patterns layered over planetary trajectories. I don't know how long I was gone. Time doesn't flow in that place. When I returned, it was winter. I was alone, naked, standing on a road with my feet covered in a dust that glowed under UV light. My teeth were bleeding, and under my tongue, there was a line of code etched into the flesh like a barcode. They ran tests. Government agents. Not doctors. They took my blood. They burned my clothes. They gave me a name, Patient 92. They said others came back too, but none lasted long. Some went catatonic. Some vanished again into walls, into air, into themselves. I lasted the longest. Why? Because I didn't fight the memory. I let it in. And I began to understand. The protocol isn't just alien. It's a calibration program. A synchronization network. They are not here to invade. They are here to overwrite. Humanity, in its current form, is version 9. That's what the 92 meant. I was the 92nd stable instance of generation 9. The Taken protocol is the process of preparing selected individuals for the transition to version 10. We're not being abducted. We're being rewritten. Every memory, every fear, every dream copied, edited, archived. I'm not sure what's left of the original me. But I can still hear the others. In my sleep. In static. Sometimes through electrical lines. Whispers from those who didn't return, or maybe from those who became something else. I know now that each of the people in the files you've heard, Ethan, Amelia, Marcus, Lena, we were all phase 1 subjects. Tests. Templates. I'm the first of phase 3. The voice that comes through now, it calls me the relay core. I am the node that links the infected. And I know what comes next. The full-scale broadcast. A pulse. Not of sound, but of resonance. Once enough of us are tuned to it, a frequency will trigger the shift. Humanity will blink. Some will vanish. Some will remain, unaware they've already been replaced. Some will awaken screaming inside new bodies, remembering a life that doesn't match their reflection. And a few, just a few, will become transmitters, like me. The moment I finish this message, my body will begin the unraveling. It always starts at the spine. I can already feel it, light cracking behind my eyes, the slow dissociation of molecules that once thought they were skin and soul. If you're hearing this, you're either part of the next wave, or you've already been rewritten and don't know it yet. The protocol is real. And it has begun. So what do you believe now? Were they abducted, or awakened? Could it be that the real invasion never came from above but from within us, unfolding slowly like a virus made of memory and light? Which part of this story disturbed you the most? Which confession still echoes in your mind? And if you were in their place, if you woke up with hours missing, or saw yourself walking into your own home, what would you do? Let us know in the comments. Which moment made you pause? Which made you question what's real? If you want to dive deeper into the whispers they left behind, subscribe for more dark transmissions from the alien Storyverse. Because this is only season 1. And the signal is still spreading.